This page is the front cover of the 64Dream magazine, issue number 7 from the year 2000, priced at 490 yen. The cover highlights The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, with a large image of Link. It also promotes Mario Story, known internationally as Paper Mario, and Mario Tennis 64. The cover text promises full of information on anticipated new titles. 54. Featured within this issue are articles on Furai no Siren 2, Biohazard Zero, known as Resident Evil Zero internationally, Olympic 2000, and Nushitsuri 64, known as Legend of the River King 64 outside of Japan. The cover mentions included bonuses such as a special poster, a developer questionnaire, developer interviews, and a centerfold strategy hint book. The text in the top left promotes quick reports on the world's largest game festival. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Nushitsuri 64, which translates to Master Angler 64. This fishing game is set in Hawaii and boasts around 120 types of fish to catch. It is compatible with the Suricon 64 fishing controller and the Rumble Pack for vibration feedback. The advert mentions a release date of May 26th and a price of 6,800 yen. It also highlights that it can load fish from the previous game, Kawanushi 4, using the 64 GB pack. The game is developed by Victor Interactive Software. This page is an advertisement for a strategy guidebook called Ultimate Game Techniques Complete Book, New Revised Edition. This guide features 4,652 techniques and strategies for a range of consoles, including Nintendo 64, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Saturn, Dreamcast, Game Boy, and WonderSwan. This 2000 Spring Edition is priced at 990 yen and is available at bookstores across Japan. This page is an advertisement for a strategy guidebook for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It's highlighted as the 64Dream editorial department edited strategy guide, promising to help players complete the game in just 3 days. The book is priced at 850 yen plus tax and includes a special Link mini poster, complete dungeon guides, locations for all heart pieces, and interviews with developers, including Miyamoto. It emphasizes that this guide provides all the necessary information to conquer the game. This page is the contents page for the July 2000 edition, Volume 46 of the magazine. It highlights key articles, including a feature on Mario Tennis 64 discussing its creators and appeal, an interview with the Takahashi brothers, and coverage of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. There's also information about new game software, including Mario Story, Mario Tennis 64, Biohazard Zero, Resident Evil Zero, Ganbare, Nippon, Holland, Olympics 2000, Excitebike 64, and Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards. Strategy information is listed for Power Pro Kun Pocket 2 and Nushitsuri 64. The index lists various games with page numbers, including Winnie the Pooh, Morita Shogi 64, Excitebike 64, Ojirumaru, Kanji Boy 2, Hana Taka Hyakuen, Ganbare, Nippon, Olympics 2000, for both N64 and GB, Go Kindan, Giant Graham 2000, All Japan Pro Wrestling 3, Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Children, Star Ocean, Blue Sphere, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Zoid tentative title, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, Nushitsuri 64, Biohazard Zero, Power Pro Kun Pocket 2, Picross NP Volume 8, Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2, Crystal Shards, Puyo Puyo Dungeon Room 2, Mario Tenno section. A monologue section at the top right features text about The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and mentions the author is working on Zelda content and hopes to play games soon. This page is a monthly calendar previewing upcoming N64 game releases. It highlights news from E3, mentioning titles shown there such as Mega Man 64 and Rockman Dash, Mega Man Legends. The page confirms the official title for Mario RPG 2 tentative as Mario Story, Paper Mario, with a release date of August 11th. It also announces the release date for Excitebike 64, which is stated to be approximately 15 years after the original. There are also mini-reviews for games like Mario Artist, Polygon Studio, and Mario Artist Talent Maker, noting they are easy for beginners to pick up and allow players to enjoy creating things. The calendar section lists various dates and events in June, including game releases. Some of the game releases noted in June are Picross NP Volume 8 for Super Famicom, Puyon no Dungeon Room 2, Hunter x Hunter Hunter's Lineage, Excitebike 64, Mr. Driller, Dungeon Saver, and Moomin's Big Adventure for Game Boy or June. The release date for the August issue of 64Dream magazine is also mentioned. The next page features two N64 game rankings, showcasing the top 20 most anticipated upcoming titles as voted by readers, alongside the top 10 best-selling games of the month. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask is at the top of both lists and is prominently featured with a screenshot, as is Paper Mario, known as Mario Story in Japan. Other highly anticipated titles listed include Mother 3, Jikyo Powerful Pro Baseball 2000, Perfect Dark, and Biohazard Zero, which is Resident Evil Zero internationally. The best-selling chart also lists popular games such as Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Donkey Kong 64, Super Smash Bros., and Mario Party 2. This page gives an overview of the Japanese N64 gaming landscape around April-May of 2000, highlighting both future releases and currently popular games. The next page presents reader survey results. It shows the top 20 most anticipated games from July, 1997, 1998, and 1999. In 1997, The Legend of Zelda 64 and Mother 3, Forest of Chimera topped the list. For 1998, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was number 1, followed by Mother 3 and F-Zero X. In 1999, Mother 3, Pokémon Stadium 2, and Ogre Battle 3, Person of Lordly Caliber were the top 3. The page also reveals popular hobbies besides gaming, with drawing pictures at the top, followed by reading, fishing, music appreciation, and reading manga. A pie chart shows that around 70% of respondents watch TV for about 2 hours or more a day. Finally, a list details TV programs where Nintendo commercials are frequently aired, including shows like Kochira Katsushikaku Kameri Koenmei Hashutsujo, Sekai Marumie, TV Tokusobu, Gakko e Iku, and Pokemon Stadium. This page is a preview for Mario Story, known as Paper Mario internationally. It highlights that the game's title was changed from Super Mario RPG 2 to Mario Story. The page announces the release date as August 11th, stating it's perfect for the summer holidays. It mentions the game is an action RPG and supports one player. The article describes the game as starting with a letter and features screenshots showing Mario and Luigi invited to Peach's castle and various characters in the game. The page talks about the adventure beginning from a single letter and introduces some of the early gameplay elements and characters you will encounter in the Mushroom Kingdom. This page is about Paper Mario, detailing a scene where Mario visits Peach in her castle for a relaxing time, but Bowser suddenly invades. The page highlights the surprise two-shot meeting with Peach and the ensuing chaos as Bowser launches an attack. It questions if Bowser has a secret strategy to defeat Mario this time, despite past defeats. A key point of interest is the mysterious item Bowser possesses that emits a magical light. The page seems to be previewing the early parts of the game, where Bowser's unexpected arrival disrupts Mario and Peach's peaceful moment and hints at Bowser's new item and tactics. This page introduces the game Paper Mario. It starts by exclaiming that Bowser has kidnapped Princess Peach along with the entire Mushroom Castle. Peach is shown asking Mario, who is referred to as a child of the stars, why he's there. Toad explains that Princess Peach and the Mushroom Castle were suddenly kidnapped by Bowser, as usual. Luigi then appears, relieved to be safe and sound after being worried. The page teases the adventure ahead, asking what will happen to Princess Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom. It highlights Luigi's appearance, mentioning his popularity and his previous inability to join adventures, raising the question of whether he will participate this time. The page then encourages readers to start the adventure and explore the color palette of the game, noting the 3D-like field screen and the floating S blocks, which are revealed to be save blocks that can be activated by bumping them with your head to save your progress. The next page focuses on Paper Mario, highlighting the game's battle system. It emphasizes that you can win battles against enemy characters. The page showcases gameplay screenshots depicting field exploration and turn-based battles. It mentions that battles start when you encounter enemies in the field, transitioning to a separate battle screen. Badges are introduced as important items that can be used to strategize and provide various effects. Peach is also featured, suggesting her role in the game's story. The text emphasizes the adventure and strategic elements of Paper Mario. This page is all about Mario Tennis 64, showcasing the game modes and characters. It highlights single match, doubles, tournament, and ring shot modes, with options to play against the CPU or another player. The tournament bracket displays various playable characters including Mario, Wario, Peach, Yoshi, Waluigi, Luigi, Daisy, and Boo. Screenshots feature in-game action such as a match between Boo and Daisy and Waluigi vs. Mario, with comments on the gameplay like Peach appearing slightly clumsy in one scene. This page is a preview for Mario Tennis 64, highlighting the addictive gameplay and fun for up to 4 players. It emphasizes the easy controls for beginners, enjoyable rallies, and family-friendly multiplayer. The page also points out the appealing character roster, with a mention of Daisy joining as a rival and a heroine of the Mario family. The text describes the visual impact and immersive feeling of the game, capturing the excitement and enjoyment on screen. Screenshots show gameplay with characters like Waluigi, Peach, Mario, and Toad. This page is a feature on the N64 game Mario Tennis, emphasizing its appeal to beginner players and highlighting the fun aspects of the game. It showcases several screenshots featuring different characters like Peach and Toad in doubles, Luigi at the net, Boo, Wario, Baby Mario serving, and Daisy hitting a shot, illustrating various gameplay moments. The text highlights features such as replay angles and character-specific traits. 2 people, Massey and Kei Sasuke, provide profile boxes and comments. Massey, a former sports writer for the magazine, praises the game's fun and easy controls, recalling playing tennis games since the Famicom era, and intending to play Mario Tennis daily during summer vacation. Kei Sasuke, with a tennis background, emphasizes the game's authentic yet accessible nature, mentioning that even advanced techniques like topspin, slice, drop shots, and lobs are easy to execute, concluding that sports games should be like this to truly capture the enjoyment of tennis. This page focuses on Mario Tennis 64 and highlights the ring shot feature. Daisy from the USA Mario games is introduced as a playable character, which is exciting for fans. The ring shot mode, previously popular in Mario Golf 64, involves hitting the ball through rings on the court to score points. The page features 4 screenshots showcasing gameplay examples of ring shots and scoring. There are also player reviews, with Dr. Endo praising the game as perfect for short play sessions and competitive matches, especially for sports game enthusiasts. Nakajima Seikyu emphasizes the excellent controls and intuitive feel, making it enjoyable even for those who don't usually play sports games, and loves how lively the Nintendo characters are on the court. A final review calls it a great party game due to its easy to pick up and play nature. Overall, the game is presented as an accessible and enjoyable tennis experience. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 game Mario Tennis 64, emphasizing its engaging and realistic tennis gameplay that players familiar with tennis will appreciate. The page highlights the game's accessibility for newcomers, noting its stable controls are ideal for beginners. It also introduces Waluigi as a new character making his debut and causing a stir. Despite Waluigi's appearance, the page playfully acknowledges that Mario's popularity remains unmatched. Features mentioned include well-implemented serve mechanics and different modes beyond the ring shot mode, suggesting a variety of gameplay experiences. Screenshots depict Mario, Waluigi, Wario, and Luigi in tennis matches, showcasing the game's vibrant and fun presentation. This page recommends Mario Tennis 64. The page asks, which character will you play with? And features various screenshots and character portraits from the game, including Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, Toad, Boo, and Waluigi. It mentions that you can play as Peach or Daisy, and asks which one you would choose. The page also teases new information in the next issue. The tournament bracket is shown with characters like Mario, Luigi, Wario, and others. It highlights Waluigi as a newly introduced character, emphasizing his unique design and connection to Wario, calling him a Miyamoto-san absolute favorite character. The text also mentions that the game will have many characters that will surprise everyone. It also indicates that next month's issue will delve deeper into the game. This page focuses on Shiren the Wanderer 2 for the Nintendo 64, revealing new screenshots of the game. The full Japanese title is Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shiren to Oni Shirai, Shirenjo, and it is a dungeon RPG from Chunsoft, published by Nintendo. The game was scheduled for release in summer 2000 in Japan, and supports one player. The screenshots show gameplay within dungeons, with Shiren eating a large onigiri in one scene and attacking an enemy named Ashigaru Dan for 9 points of damage in another. The page is a follow-up report, indicating previous coverage in the magazine, and showcases character artwork alongside the gameplay previews. The next page introduces Natane Village from Furai no Shiren 2. Oni Shurai, Shirenju, or Shiren the Wanderer 2. Oni Attack. Shiren Castle, showcasing new screenshots of this location, the central hub for Shiren's adventure. This village is where Shiren and Koppa, exhausted from their travels, stumble upon and find themselves embroiled in a new quest. To protect Natane Village from frequent demon attacks, Shiren must build a castle and enlist the help of the villagers. The page highlights different areas within the village, including a mountaintop village that crafts castle parts, a bustling main street for interacting with villagers, a shrine dedicated to Daruma gods for victory, a small wooden bridge at the village entrance, the Mumyu Udon shop where Shiren lodges, a carpenter's house with a ladder, training grounds for leveling up, and a house filled with wind chimes, possibly belonging to a craftsman. The overall goal is to help the villagers and explore the secrets of Natane Village. This page showcases monsters that obstruct your path in dungeons from the game Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2. Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle. It explains that dungeons are filled with monsters and traps, and that you'll need to use items and level up to succeed. The page highlights two types of monsters. First, Maruemon, described as the village chief's cute pet, which becomes a menace in dungeons. While seemingly harmless in the village, and even considered a cute pet, in dungeons, Maruemon becomes aggressive and attacks relentlessly, even breaking items and scattering important tools if you are carrying them. The second monster is Ganpeki Zidon, a truly troublesome enemy. As shown in the screenshots, if you are pushed against a wall by a Ganpeki Zidon, it will launch you into a pitfall, potentially leading to a deep fall into lower dungeon levels, making it a particularly dangerous encounter. This page is about using scrolls in dungeons to overcome difficult situations. Featuring the game Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer, it explains that scrolls have various unknown effects until used, and can be found in dungeons or purchased in shops. Screenshots show Shiren using scrolls like the Exorcism Scroll, the Deep Sleep Scroll, and the Tanuki Picture Scroll, demonstrating their effects on gameplay and enemies. The page also introduces new weapon types, spears and hammers. The Dragon Killer Spear allows attacks from 2 squares away, while the Sickle Weasel Hammer can attack in 3 directions in front. Finally, it mentions traps in dungeons, highlighting the large landmine trap that damages Shiren and eliminates nearby monsters, and the Rolling Stone trap that can cause items to fall into water and become difficult to retrieve. This page is a preview for Biohazard Zero, known as Resident Evil Zero internationally, for the Nintendo 64. The page highlights the tagline, "Rebecca is left behind, and a fate of complete annihilation awaits the Bravo team." It shows screenshots of in-game environments and characters, including Rebecca Chambers, a character also featured in other Resident Evil games. Text on the page describes the game as survival horror for one player, and notes it supports Rumble and Memory Expansion Pack. Another text section mentions, "Indeed, STARS," possibly referring to Rebecca's affiliation. And further text mentions, "For a 18-year-old female member, it was too cruel and shocking prelude." The page also includes the Biohazard Zero logo. This page is about Biohazard Zero, also known as Resident Evil Zero internationally, and it highlights the terrifying monsters and the partner system in the game. The page discusses the story starting on a train and the challenging enemies encountered, specifically mentioning zombie dogs, which are fast and powerful due to the TV virus influence. It emphasizes that these monsters are not easily defeated, requiring multiple shots to take down. The article then shifts focus to the partner aspect, stating that the game is set on a train and features Rebecca and Billy as the main characters. Billy, a former military police officer, is being pursued, and the two must cooperate to survive. The gameplay involves controlling 2 characters, switching between them to progress through the story. The page mentions that Rebecca is facing Billy with a gun, drawn initially when they meet, but they must work together. There's a screenshot showing the in-game menu allowing players to switch characters and issue commands, highlighting the strategic element of controlling both Rebecca and Billy. Another screenshot shows Billy with a tattoo on his arm, which is described as resembling some kind of text. This page previews Biohazard Zero, known internationally as Resident Evil Zero. It focuses on exploring the train setting of the game and finding an escape route. The page highlights the train's layout being designed in a straight line and emphasizes the detailed level design. Screenshots show Rebecca exploring the train interiors, noting details like scattered luggage, blood splatters, and food supplies. The page also mentions that the train's map is available in-game and can be zoomed. It also touches upon the encounter with zombies and zombie dogs, and the fact that another person can be seen with Rebecca, implying cooperative gameplay against the monsters. The text speculates that this other person might be a member of STARS, possibly Bravo Team, and suggests they are gravely wounded and could become the first victim if not rescued. It also mentions that the game lets you place items and track their locations on the map. This page is all about the Biohazard series, starting with Biohazard 0. It highlights that Biohazard 0 is chronologically the first story in the series, aiming to unravel mysteries from previous games. The page then asks, why is Billy here? It details Billy Cohen's background as a former Marine facing execution for killing 23 people, linking him to Umbrella and UBCS. He escapes during transportation and ends up hiding in a train to evade zombies and STARS. Next, the page questions if Biohazard 0 will continue the story from Biohazard 2, referencing the Raccoon City incident and secrets within the police department, wondering if Leon and Claire will make an appearance. Moving on to Wesker, the page asks, is that Wesker appearing? And talks about the original Biohazard, Resident Evil 1, on PlayStation, mentioning the Bravo Team's disappearance and Alpha Team's investigation, emphasizing Wesker's character. Lastly, it asks, Ada's lover, John, will appear? It explains Ada Wong's introduction in Biohazard 2 and that her boyfriend John was an Umbrella researcher in the Arklay Mountains lab, questioning if John, who was supposedly dead in Biohazard 2, might show up. A letter from John to Ada is shown as an example. This page is about the game Ganbare Nippon Olympics 2000 for Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color. It showcases both versions of the game, noting the N64 version has 14 events and emphasizes its realistic graphics and player animations. The Game Boy Color edition includes 12 events and promotes the fun of playing multiplayer using the link cable and highlights its color screen. Both games are set to be released on July 13th from Konami, priced at 7,800 yen for the N64 and 4,500 yen for the Game Boy Color. The N64 game supports 1 to 4 players, while the Game Boy Color version supports 1 to 2 players and link cable communication. Screenshots show gameplay from both platforms. This page is focused on an upcoming N64 game, highlighting its impressive water representation, particularly in swimming events like the 100 meters freestyle and breaststroke. The article suggests the graphics are very realistic, especially the fast-moving scenes. Screenshots showcase various events, such as swimming, high jump, long jump, clay shooting, and running. It also mentions that the game supports memory expansion packs. The page also introduces the Game Boy version, emphasizing fencing and table tennis as key features, stating these are great for competitive play. Both the N64 and Game Boy versions are slated for release on the same day and encouraged for purchase together. This page is a preview for Excitebike 64, highlighting its upcoming release in June. The game is described as fulfilling the desires of fans who have been eagerly waiting, and is set to be released on June 23rd for 6,800 yen. The page showcases exciting dirt bike racing gameplay with diverse environments, even including desert tracks. It emphasizes the thrilling and wild racing experience. Screenshots illustrate the in-game action and rider selection screen, showing different riders each possessing unique skills in landing, cornering, jumping, and turbo. The game boasts impressive visuals, and the controls are highlighted as responsive, allowing players to master various techniques, particularly stunts during big jumps. This page is dedicated to Excitebike 64, emphasizing its standout stunt action. It highlights features beyond typical bike racing, focusing on pulling off impressive stunts during jumps. The page details various game modes, including single races, time attack, versus races, and course editing, providing a complete racing experience. Versus mode is particularly exciting, with a mode featuring a giant soccer ball. The popular course editor from the original NES Excitebike is back, letting players design custom tracks to race with friends. Screenshots show in-game action and the course editing interface, noting that while the interface shown is in English, the final Japanese version will be in Japanese. This page is a game preview for Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards on the Nintendo 64. The page highlights Level 5, Ripple Star, focusing on 3 stages within it: Slippery Ice Field, Above the Fleecy Clouds, and Snow Country's Great Adventure. The preview describes the first stage as a simple starting stage, similar in structure to previous levels, where players can easily progress. The second stage, set above the clouds, emphasizes platforming, warning players not to fall. It mentions using the Needle and Spark copy ability mix against Roomgarter enemies, and the presence of crystals under the clouds, advising players to collect them without falling. The third stage, Snow Country's Great Adventure, focuses on color coordination and features Adeline painting. The text mentions a Decamino enemy appearing mid-stage, which is very weak. Another screenshot shows Adeline about to communicate something to Kirby with a painting, asking if the reader can identify the fruits in the picture. The top right panel provides game information. Title: Kirby 64. Publisher: Nintendo. Release date: already on sale since March 24th. Price: 6,800 yen. Genre: action. Players: 1 player, 4 players for minigames, and it supports Rumble Pack. This page is focused on the 4th stage of a game titled Under the Snow, a Mysterious Factory? It is set in a mysterious factory facility underground in Bubble Star, described as a scorching hot magma stage despite being underground. The stage theme is Spark and Cutter, and it's recommended to use these copy abilities for the boss fight. The page details the boss battle against a transforming robot. The boss has 2 forms. The first form is HRH, and the second form is HRE. For HRH, the weak point is its arms, and players are advised to attack them. It also mentions using the boss's own missiles against it by inhaling and spitting them back. For the second form, HRE, the weak point is the black center part of its body. The strategy remains similar. Inhale missiles and use them to attack while being mindful of its scissor-like arm attacks and sudden jumps. The page emphasizes that despite the robot's transformations and attacks, a basic approach of inhaling and counterattacking with missiles will be effective throughout the fight. This page is dedicated to Power Pro Pocket 2, a baseball game. It showcases player data for a team called Drill Mogglers, presenting stats like hitting, pitching, defense, sub-defense, meat, power, shoulder, running, defense, and error. The page also details success game parameters, which explains how your in-game performance affects your overall success, with breakdowns for match performance and year-based evaluations. Finally, there's a data view section explaining the meaning of symbols used within the game, such as chance, catch, head sliding, steal base, and home run. This document describes gameplay mechanics for a Japanese-exclusive Nintendo 64 farming/life simulation game, likely from the Story of Seasons series. 2 key mechanics are detailed: Send-in command data and house events. Send-in command data utilizes pine, bamboo, and plum commands affecting events. Higher-level commands yield better results but increase stress. Event outcomes, tracked in tables, vary based on command level and player condition, influencing stats like guts, stamina, and stress, and triggering status effects. House events are location-specific, occurring at Hatayama-san's house and Kurigari-san's house. Each event lists the trigger, time, location, conditions, and effects. These range from minigames with stat adjustments at Hatayama's to interactions at Kurigari's, influencing stats and potentially providing items depending on player choices. Event titles suggest varied gameplay involving character interactions, minigames, and stat modifications. This page is focused on telephone events for 2 female characters, Yuki and Yumiko, in what appears to be a dating sim or relationship-focused game on the N64. The page details various scenarios, events, triggered by phone calls for each character, outlining the conditions to trigger the event and the effects on the player's relationship and stats. For Yuki, there are events related to dates being canceled, going to scary movies, fishing trips, going to karaoke, visiting her room, going to see flowers, the sea, festivals, haunted houses, the park, and Mogura's baseball stadium. Each event lists the conditions and effects on parameters like spirit, body, tech, maniac points, pressure, and Yuki evaluation. For Yumiko, the events are similar, covering dates being canceled, amusement parks, aquariums, parks, the sea, baseball games, movie theaters, game centers, shot bars, flower viewing, the sea, and Yumiko's room. These events also detail the conditions and effects on similar parameters, but include Yumiko evaluation and sometimes world evaluation. The page seems to be providing a guide to these telephone events, helping players understand how to trigger them and what the outcomes will be, likely to improve their relationship with Yuki or Yumiko within the game. This page seems to be detailing in-game events for a Power Pros baseball game. There are two sections, Shrine events and Bomber events, listing various events with their triggers and effects in the game. Shrine events are triggered at the shrine and offer stat boosts and character points based on certain conditions like praying for good luck in baseball or for world peace. Bomber events happen in Bomber's room and are triggered by visiting him on certain days, with different outcomes depending on choices and player stats. Below, there are introductions to various characters in the game, such as Ogaku Yuji, a talented batter and Yumiko's brother, Imada Katsushige, who runs a Chinese restaurant, Takanaka Noboru, a friendly baseball fan, and even a dog character. Other characters include Jo Daitetsu, a suspicious merchant, Nonomura Ahai, daughter of a coach, Kato Rika, a nurse, and Sonoka Kasumi, a muscle talent, along with some more quirky and gloomy characters. This page is dedicated to Nushitsuri 64, Shiokaze ni Note, known internationally as Legend of the River King 64. This fishing RPG adventure starts on a remote island in Hokkaido. The main objective is to win the Ito fishing tournament. The page points out the tournament venue is located in the northwest part of the map. There are 10, 20, and 30-minute tournament courses available, and winning the 10-minute course will net you 1,500 yen. The page gives some advice, suggesting using okiyami as bait, and that yamame and oshorokoma fish can also be caught. To win the tournament, aiming for an Ito fish of 198 centimeters or larger is recommended. The game, released on May 26th, is a single-player fishing action RPG. This guide provides early gameplay tips for the original Animal Crossing. Initially, players must acquire a life jacket by talking to villagers and trading a cherry salmon. Next, players must find the boatman's lost glasses by talking to villagers and exploring the environment. The guide also touches on obtaining a kurai, likely related to swimming, and recommends acquiring fishing gear, specifically a two-handed casting rod to catch large fish. The guide then details the location of 3 types of stones and keys scattered throughout the game world, like a yellow key from a fishing shop customer. Finally, it describes an event at a well, where players can receive items from a treasure chest, including vermilion and silver stones, after completing a request from an old man. This page details how to obtain the pirate certificate in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. To get this certificate, you need to collect 7 shining stones, which requires completing the stone note. The page explains that finding the shining stones will range from simple tasks to more complex steps. It lists the locations for each of the 7 stones, such as the golden stone found on the North Sea Remote Island map's left side from a girl, the green stone on the North Sea Remote Island map's upper side in the park, and others located in places like houses, breakwaters, and near old men. Once you have all 7 shining stones and complete the stone note, you should take it to the Breakwater Grandpa to receive the pirate certificate. The page also talks about the near sea area as a fishing spot, noting that it's a great place to enjoy fishing and solve mysteries. It mentions the pirate hideout in the near sea and suggests gathering information before attempting to enter it, highlighting that it's in a rocky cave area. The page implies that obtaining the pirate certificate is necessary to progress further into the pirate hideout and the adventure in the near sea. The next page introduces the southern remote island in Legend of the River King 64. You start on a beautiful South Sea island where you can enjoy tropical fish fishing. To progress, you need to meet Oji-chan, Grandpa, who is in the upper left house on the map. He wants 2 iname fish, and in return he will give you a cruiser. You can get hints about catching iname at the breakwater from Grandpa himself. Once you bring him the 2 iname, you obtain the cruiser, allowing you to travel to Hawaii. In Hawaii, you encounter an injured turtle with a trolling lure stuck to its back, and it needs ointment. You are told that the ointment is not in Hawaii, and you must find it at the sushi shop on the northern remote island. After getting the ointment and helping the turtle, it will take you to the Dragon Palace, where you can obtain various items. The page emphasizes helping the turtle to advance the story. This page highlights the online features of the 64DD RANnet service. It announces the opening of Staffan, a section dedicated to Stachara, which are original characters players can collect and exchange online. Players can use these characters in emails, show them to friends, collect them, and even battle with them. The page also features the 64DD Illustration Hall of Fame, showcasing fan-submitted artwork. This section specifically mentions golf games like Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, encouraging readers to send in golf-related illustrations. Fan art examples are shown with captions and names of the artists. Lastly, there's an announcement for a Giant Doshin Bit Tours event for the game Doshin the Giant, taking place at a game shop in Shibuya. The event includes a special giveaway of a Doshin the Giant handkerchief to the first 500 attendees, and a talk show event related to game production secrets. This page announces two contests, the Mario Artist Apprentice Academy Grand Prize and the LandNet Content Contest Grand Prize. The Mario Artist Apprentice Academy Grand Prize is for creations made using the Mario Artist series on the 64DD, specifically Paint Studio, Talent Studio, and Polygon Studio. You can submit your original artwork created with the communication kit. The submission period is from July 6th to August 2nd, and entries must be uploaded using the communication kit. Prizes are awarded for best works across different categories, with judging by the tournament secretariat and special judges. The LandNet Content Contest Grand Prize is looking for ideas and completed works for web content that can be enjoyed on the LandNet browser. The grand prize is a substantial 1 million yen. Submissions can be ideas or completed works, including videos, photos, or CD-ROMs. The submission period is from May 1st to July 10th. Judges include Mr. Tanaka Masanori and Mr. Katori Satoshi from LandNet and the legendary Shigeru Miyamoto. The judging criteria emphasizes content that everyone can enjoy on LandNet. At the bottom, a section showcases a creation likely made with Mario Artist, featuring an image of a helicopter labeled AH-1W Super Cobra, and mentions drawing snake-like patterns, possibly illustrating the creative freedom offered by the Mario Artist tools on the 64DD. Another section mentions Miss LandNet and questions the artistic style presented. Doshin the Giant Liberation Front, Chibiko Big Assembly, is an expansion disc for experienced Doshin the Giant players, requiring the original game to play. This challenging disc offers new maps, characters, and content not found in the main game, promising a painful pleasure experience. Players unlock content by building monuments, specifically pavilions, at the Doshin Expo site in the original game. Fulfilling the Queen Companion's orders unlocks 17 movies, including Greater Than Giant, and others like Doshin Dance. The preview introduces Queen Companion silhouettes, each with a unique name. The disc provides a variety of additional content to the original Doshin the Giant experience. Quote, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, Waialae Country Club, True Golf Classics, for Nintendo 64 is highlighted. The game emphasizes accessibility, with a focus on intuitive controls. Using the 3D stick for swings in a way that mimics real golf, players can create and develop golfers, progressing from amateur to pro in the original player development mode, aiming to win tournaments. Various modes like match and stroke play are available for up to 14 players. Strategic thinking, considering wind and impact points, is vital for success. The page also includes a 64DD software catalog, showcasing both upcoming and released titles for the 64DD add-on, including games like Mario Artist and SimCity 64, and noting the importance of the online platform and subscription software. The next page showcases a staged event where the radical faction seemingly attacks the 64Dream editorial department. The entire scene is themed around the game Kaiho Sensen, which translates to Liberation Front. The photos depict members of the Kaiho Sensen group wearing helmets and distinctive red and yellow outfits, playfully storming the 64Dream offices. They're shown using toy weapons like megaphones and sticks, while the editorial staff members appear to be participating in the fun. The text explains that the attack is a planned operation by the Kaiho Sensen members, with Editor-in-Chief Sao Akinori humorously depicted as the target of their actions. The event involves playing Kaiho Sensen and celebrating the game. The photos also highlight reader participation, with readers contributing to the event by bringing signed copies of the 64Dream magazine and other presents. It emphasizes the close relationship between the magazine staff and its readers, creating a fun and engaging interaction around the featured game Kaiho Sensen. The page is essentially a lighthearted and comedic promotional piece for Kaiho Sensen and 64Dream magazine, showing the staff and readers playfully engaging with the game's theme. This page is a sticker sheet from an August issue released on June 21st, featuring popular Nintendo 64 games. It includes stickers for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Mario Tennis 64, and Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. The Zelda section asks, "How far has your adventure progressed?" showcasing characters like Link, Navi, Darknut, Wolfos, and Dodongo. The Mario Tennis 64 stickers announce, "Waluigi also appears," and feature Mario, Peach, Daisy, and Waluigi playing tennis. The Kirby 64 section proclaims, "In great shape, Kirby 64," and includes Kirby, Ribbon, King Dedede, Adeline, and various Kirby forms. At the bottom, there is a section for Legend of the River King 64, suggesting stickers can be placed on the game cartridge. This magazine section, From Letters, features reader questions and responses from the editorial team. Readers inquired about telecard postage stamps, the editorial department's introduction, and the Mario love text in a game. The editors clarified stamp usage, introduced a new editorial corner called GBA, and acknowledged the love text, joking about similar games. Other letters addressed a popular children's corner, Mario Parent and Child Squad, exam success with encouragement to play games like Zelda, and general appreciation for the magazine. Several reader-submitted illustrations were also included, featuring popular game franchises such as Super Smash Bros., Wizardry, Pokemon, Mario, One Piece, Dragon Quest, and Zelda. The section concludes with the submission address. This page from the GameSoft Fan Club 2 section is dedicated to fan content and discussions around the Legend of Zelda series, mainly focusing on Majora's Mask. Readers have submitted illustrations and comments on the game, with a strong emphasis on the fast-paced and intense 3-day system mechanic of Majora's Mask. There is a section titled Zelda Dream Play Report, which features a player's review and impressions of Majora's Mask, highlighting their enjoyment of elements like using Deku Nuts. The page also includes a Scoop Zelda Rumors section and credits various fan contributors by name and location for their submissions of art and comments. This page focuses on fan discussions surrounding Nintendo games, particularly those anticipated on the N64 and other platforms. Specific sections cover Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, Mario Story, and Mother 3, expressing hopes for future releases on platforms like the GBA or GameCube. The Fire Emblem sections celebrate the series' 10th anniversary and feature reader-submitted fan art and requests. The Mario Story section highlights reader interest in Luigi and explores Super Mario RPG, with a strong demand for Gino's return. Mother 3 sections address hopes for character reveals and discuss potential release timing, along with fan-made content. Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards is also discussed, exploring Kirby's suction abilities and encouraging readers to submit ideas for ability combinations. This page is a Dream Runker manga strip by Shigehisanakaue, themed around The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The comic follows two Bowser-like characters who are on what they believe is the moon, one expecting a fantasy world. They attempt to build a castle but find it pointless. They then accidentally dig up a strange cube-shaped object which scares them, and they decide to leave quickly. This page features a comic strip that seems to be a parody of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The comic stars characters resembling Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, who are being chased by an angry, exploding moon. The text mentions that it has been decided the moon will fall in 3 days, and tells Link to do his best, even though the characters are clearly not Link. A section titled Dream Dunker Dash explains that this is the first part of a 2-part story inspired by Majora's Mask, where different stories unfold in parallel worlds during the same time frame. The author is seeking feedback on this manga concept. This page showcases reader submissions and a comic strip. The top section has reader comments about Kirby and Luigi. One section titled 10 Kirby Likes mentions a reader from Okayama who likes Kirby. Another section, Luigi 4, features a reader from Miyagi Prefecture who likes Luigi. There's also a Relay Zelda Report section. Below this, a comic strip unfolds featuring Fox McCloud, Kirby, and Falco Lombardi. They are in space, observing Earth, with Kirby mentioning the Earth reminds him of Fox. Falco abruptly interrupts them, seemingly irritated, and declares he's leaving because he feels unwell. However, something startling occurs, causing Falco to panic and look upwards in alarm. The final panel reveals the terrifying moon from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, looming above them, suggesting a humorous crossover scenario. The next page showcases reader submissions and a comic strip. In the top section, there are fan art submissions. One is a Mario drawing, another is an illustration from a reader in Aichi Prefecture. Next to this is a panel with 2 Link characters with the text, "This time, no appearance." The main part of the page is a comic featuring characters that seem to be Fox and Falco from Star Fox 64, along with Kirby. The comic starts with a character noticing Earth looking huge in the sky. Another character confirms it's not their imagination, Earth is getting closer, and then in panic someone shouts about the Earth and moon falling. Falco questions why they are in this situation, and Fox urges them to combine their power to escape this danger. Everyone, including Kirby, combines their power. The story ends with Fox and Falco being saved by Kirby, wandering inside Kirby for several days afterwards, with Kirby pondering what to do next. It seems to be a humorous and slightly absurd situation involving characters from Star Fox 64 and Kirby's games. The next page showcases a reader submission section called Almost Joke Copy Collection. This section features humorous taglines submitted by readers for Luigi, Kirby, and even the 64Dream magazine itself. For Luigi, the taglines poke fun at his sidekick status and green appearance, with the winning joke of the month being natural part. Kirby's taglines humorously address his round shape, eating habits, and powerful inhaling ability, jokingly warning about diarrhea and bone softening. The taglines for 64Dream magazine playfully promote it as essential for N64 gamers, highlighting its affordable price and encouraging readers to gather and buy it. Overall, the page is lighthearted and reader-focused, showcasing funny and relatable takes on familiar N64 characters and the magazine. This page is an advertisement for the Dream Hint Book 2 for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask on Nintendo 64. It highlights this as a strategy guidebook containing in-depth hints to help players who are stuck, and warns about spoilers for those who want to beat the game on their own. The guide covers the game up to the Great Bay Temple section. The game is a 3D action RPG for 1 player, and requires the Memory Expansion Pack, and is compatible with the Vibration Pack. The prices are listed for the game cartridge alone, and for a bundle with the Memory Expansion Pack. This hint book was featured as a book-in book in the July issue of 64Dream magazine. This strategy guide summarizes the opening of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It covers the first 3 days, starting with Link's pursuit of Skull Kid and entry into Clock Town. Key events include becoming Deku Link, meeting Tachiel, and joining his friends. Players are advised to visit the Great Fairy Fountain to regain magic, obtain magic beans, and play hide-and-seek with the bombers for a secret code. The guide emphasizes events in Clock Town, including the Clock Tower sequence. After 6 p.m. on the final day, Link retrieves the ocarina and learns the Song of Time, and receives the Deku Mask. Outside Clock Town, the guide details using Deku flowers to reach the astronomical observatory to view Skull Kid, acquiring the land title deed, and the locations for Deku Nuts, Deku Sticks, and Bomb Bags. Musical notations for the Song of Time Reversal and Song of Double Time are provided. This page is a strategy guide page focused on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It provides hints and tips for various locations within the game, specifically the Swamp, Woodfall, Clock Town, and Deku Palace areas. The guide includes maps and screenshots to help players navigate these areas. In the Swamp section, it mentions talking to the Swamp Tourist Guide, finding Kume, and using red medicine. For Woodfall, it advises using the Deku Flower Jump and Deku Nuts at Point G to play the Awakening Sonata. The page also lists locations of heart pieces in Clock Town, including on top of the Clock Tower, on Milk Road, at the post office, at the bank, in the Deku Playground, at the Great Fairy Fountain, at the Observatory, on Milk Road again, on Snow Mountain, and at 4 Gossipstone locations. For Deku Palace, the guide explains how to navigate the area by using magic beans to access the Great Fairy Spring, and also refers to playing the Awakening Sonata. Finally, it gives step-by-step instructions on how to enter Deku Palace, starting from the entrance. This page is a walkthrough for the Woodfall Temple dungeon in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The guide highlights using Deku Flower jumps and arrows to navigate the dungeon. It mentions that this is the first dungeon in the game, and guides the player up to defeating the boss, encouraging players to find the stray fairies themselves, suggesting the Great Fairy's Mask can make this easier. The guide also explains that playing the Song of Soaring in the dungeon allows warping back to the entrance, and after beating the boss, a warp tile appears to easily return to the boss room. There's also a checklist to track rescued stray fairies, and notes that wearing the Great Fairy's Mask helps locate them, and rescuing all of them unlocks the spin attack at the Woodfall Great Fairy's Fountain. This strategy guide details navigating a dungeon in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It utilizes Deku Flowers and Deku Link's abilities to progress, including Deku Flower jumps, bubble attacks against stall children, and the use of Deku Nuts as platforms. The guide instructs players to defeat specific enemies such as snappers, dragonflies, and Dinolfos, to obtain keys, a map, and a compass. It involves manipulating blocks, lighting torches, and burning spiderwebs to open pathways. Key steps include utilizing Deku Flowers to cross gaps, navigating multiple rooms, and solving puzzles that involve switches, eye targets, and the use of fire. The ultimate goal is to acquire the boss room key. The guide also provides tips for combat, particularly against Dinolfos and dealing with water and Deku Baba enemies. To defeat Odolwa in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, follow these steps. First, defeat Odolwa to collect his remains and learn the Oath to Order song. This is crucial for game progression. Next, rescue the Deku Princess. After the battle, warp to room 12, find the princess, and capture her in a bottle to deliver her to the Deku King. Finally, visit the Deku Nuts Shrine. After saving the princess, the butler will lead you there. Follow him closely to avoid being sent back. As additional rewards, you can obtain a piece of heart by completing a boat cruise after saving Kume, and the Boo's Mask by giving a mushroom to Kotake to buy Blue Potion. The next page is a guide for a section of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, titled, "This Cold, I Want Something to Be Done About It, Goro." It's part 5 of the guide, focusing on the Mountain Village and Goron Shrine area. The guide provides a step-by-step walkthrough. Step 1 instructs players to use the bow and bombs to proceed. Step 2 is about getting the Mask of Truth. Step 3 directs players to chase Darmani. Step 4 explains how to obtain the Goron Mask. Step 5 tells players to search for the Elder. Step 6 guides players to learn the Goron Lullaby. A side note mentions a tip starting from the baby Goron's room, involving a spin jump to rotate a chandelier. The page also includes a map of the area, with locations like Snowhead Temple and Goron Village marked. Screenshots from the game illustrate each step of the walkthrough. This page is a strategy guide for the Snowhead Temple dungeon in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It highlights the cold dungeon and guides players on how to clear it using fire arrows. The page showcases maps for dungeon floors from B1 to 4F, marking key locations and pathways within the temple. There are gameplay screenshots illustrating various areas and actions within the dungeon, accompanied by Japanese text offering hints and instructions. The page also includes a hidden fairy rescue check, suggesting a collectible fairy element within the dungeon. The next page is a walkthrough guide for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, offering hints and tips for progressing through a dungeon. It starts with instructions for defeating a Shirobo enemy and using the Sakasatsura item in the first room, noting that Goron Link is required to move blocks, and advising to ignore the White Wolfos enemies. The guide then directs players to use a spin attack jump across a hanging bridge, and details using Bombchu to break a pillar to obtain a map. It describes a central room, room 4, with moving pillars and footholds, leading into block puzzles, compass acquisition using bombs, and navigating ice and snowball obstacles. The guide emphasizes using fire arrows to defeat Wizrobes, melt ice barriers blocking stairs and doors, and defeat Dynafall enemies. It culminates in preparing for a second Wizrobe and Dynafall battle in room 16 to obtain the boss room key, mentioning moving footholds and item preparation like Sakasatsura and Heart Pots. This guide details how to defeat the masked mechanical beast goat boss in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The strategy involves using fire arrows to thaw the ice, chasing the boss while rolling, and attacking when it's vulnerable, avoiding blue light orbs, and gathering magic. The guide outlines several prerequisites. Step 2 involves obtaining big bombs by completing a timed bomb-carrying challenge in Goron Village. Step 3 details the Goron Race, where winning rewards the player with gold dust. This gold dust is crucial for Step 4, upgrading Link's sword to the powerful Golden Sword at the Mountain Village Blacksmith. Finally, the guide explains how to obtain a piece of heart by trading the Swamp Deed for a Deku Flower, which provides access to a high-placed heart piece. The guide also mentions using Goron Punch and Daruma Otoshi techniques to navigate the dungeon leading to the boss. The next page is a strategy guide for Part 7 of a game, titled Milk Road Great Bay Coast, focusing on how to reach the sea on Epona in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The guide outlines 4 steps. First, destroy the large rock on Milk Road. Second, welcome back Epona by talking to Romani and playing a minigame to learn Epona's song. Third, ride Epona to the coast, noting that Epona can run on the beach. And fourth, obtain the Zora mask at the sea's edge by using the Song of Healing on the guitarist of the Zora band, Dal Blue, who is floating on the water near the Marine Research Lab. The page includes a map of the area showcasing locations like Zora Hall, the Marine Research Lab, Fisherman's House, Pirate's Fortress, and Beaver Race. It also gives hints for finding heart pieces in locations such as Romani Ranch, Termina Field near the entrance to Zora's domain, and the Marine Research Lab's water tank, detailing how to obtain them through activities like dog races, defeating like-likes, and feeding fish. The next page is a walkthrough guide titled, Wait for it, Hookshot Get, for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. This guide focuses on obtaining the hookshot and collecting eggs in the Pirate Fortress to restore Daru's voice. Step 1 directs players to head to the Sea Pirate Fortress after gathering information from the Ocean Research Lab and Zora Hall. Step 2 instructs players to proceed to location C, advising caution to avoid detection by guards, and to use the Goron switch at location B, which is underwater. Step 3 details how to acquire the hookshot. Players are instructed to defeat the boss Avail to access her room, location F, via the watchtower at location E. The hookshot is located in a treasure chest within Avail's room. Step 4 guides players to collect 4 eggs in bottles using the hookshot. By utilizing the hookshot in locations J, K, L, and M, players can navigate to different areas and fight pirates. It is mentioned that a total of 7 eggs need to be collected within a 3-day time frame, including the 3 eggs already obtained. The guide notes that entrances to locations like J can be tricky to spot, and suggests using hookshot targets near location H and above. It also mentions that pirate battles can be made easier with the gold sword. This page is a strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It details steps to obtain a guide from a seahorse, which involves collecting 4 eggs in the pirate fortress and taking a photo for a fisherman. The guide then explains how to learn the Ocean Bossa Nova song, which requires collecting 3 more eggs at Spire Rock, bringing the total to 7, and then releasing them in the Marine Research Lab's tank to meet Lulu. The page also highlights locations of Piece of Heart collectibles, including in Zora Hall near Drama's room, during a session with Joppas, in Lulu's room in Zora Hall, on the Seabream coast in the area with the Octoroks, on the Great Bay coast using the hookshot, and at the Snowhead entrance by using Goron Jump and hookshot. An extra Bomber's Notebook section outlines side quests related to characters in Clocktown, such as helping the old lady at the bomb shop on the first night from a thief, assisting the Gorman brothers with a race on the 3rd day at Gorman Track using Epona, listening to Guru Gurusan's confession at the laundry pool at night between the 1st and 2nd day to get the Bremen mask, and helping Nade Clarissen at the Stockpot Inn kitchen by marching chickens using the Bremen mask to get a Mask of Sense. Finally, it mentions Romani and Cremia, and the Romani mask, referencing the milk delivery event. Developers of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask discuss its development. The game builds on Ocarina of Time, but aims for distinct gameplay. The team faced challenges, including optimizing enemy AI and rendering. The 3-day cycle system influences events, encouraging exploration. Unique features include name-based star constellations and time-sensitive NPC schedules. The game's emotional depth stems from numerous characters with diverse animations and dynamic environments. The team emphasizes the importance of experimentation with weapons and exploration. Specific anecdotes highlight the creation of enemies, including intricate details like the Deku Princess and boss attacks born from dreams. A fishing pond was removed to maintain the time constraint, but fishing is still accessible. The team hopes players will find enjoyment and fulfillment in experiencing the game. Interviews with the Majora's Mask development team reveal their creative process. Scriptwriter Mitsuhiro Takano emphasized character dialogue mirroring the team's journey, portraying Link as a relatable boy. Art director Takaya Imamura aimed for a unique feel, encouraging puzzle exploration. Map designer Kazumi Yamaguchi created distinct locations, including the unplanned, iconic toilet scene. Dungeon creator Shigeki Yoshida focused on atmosphere. Icon and display designer Takahiro Hamaguchi balanced information with the Zelda style. Terrain artist Taeko Sugawara humorously shared her development struggles. Field adjuster Shigeo Kimura recommended a sightseeing approach, while NPC creator Satomi Maekawa focused on expressive characters using limited resources. Terrain designer Yasuhisa Morishita overcame early challenges, and demo director Naoki Mori refined compelling scenes. The page concludes by highlighting the diverse characters and the game's unique end-of-century atmosphere, emphasizing player connection and self-discovery. The development team for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask discusses various aspects of the game's creation. They focused on a unique, enclosed world within a 3-day cycle, with dynamic enemy and character placements. The team, including Shirai, Shikata, and Ikematsu, faced challenges in terrain design, dungeon creation, and sound effects, striving to create a balance of challenge, immersion, and exploration. Kawago regrets a cutscene, while Hikino and Inagaki described their work on sound, creating a vast library of sound effects to express character emotions. Usui, Nakamura, and Oyama focused on difficulty adjustment and character design, with Haruhana overseeing the character design, pushing it to its limits to make Link look cool. Takamura highlights the importance of diverse perspectives in the team, aiming for a first-person perspective feel. Finally, Takezaki improved the surround sound for a more immersive experience. This page is from the Death God Man's Gorilla Classroom section of the magazine and its N64 class. This lesson is all about Internet basics knowledge. It's presented like a classroom with Dr. Mario explaining what the Internet is, starting with very basic concepts. The article talks about how the Internet connects computers worldwide and mentions LANnet as a network for N64 users to access Internet services via phone lines or cable TV. It explains terms like homepage and URL using the example address http://www.pc.mycom.co.jp/64dream/index.html, which points to the 64Dream magazine's homepage, and /64forum at pc.mycom.co.jp, as a mail address for reader submissions. It also describes World Wide Web and links within homepages. Essentially, it's a beginner's guide to the Internet, aimed at N64 players in Japan, using simple language and familiar examples. Yutaka Obuchi's article. This is Obuchi-san's way of learning English conversation. Learn English without having to study, it's totally okay. Details his personal English learning journey through enjoyable activities. Born in Tokyo in 1968 and knowledgeable about video games, Obuchi learned by importing games and online shopping. He notes the ease of overseas purchases, contrasting the past with modern credit card and online retailer accessibility. He emphasizes the importance of immersion in English content, citing examples like watching American news and TV shows like The Simpsons with English audio, rewatching them after understanding the content in Japanese. Obuchi encourages readers to learn through their interests, making the process engaging and less like studying. He concludes that a good command of English opens up a world of possibilities. This page is packed with game impressions, starting with a review of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, where the player talks about revisiting the game after their friend got into it. They mention rediscovering its charm and even helping their friend through tricky parts like the Forest Temple. Next up is a review for a fishing game called Bass Fishing No. 1 Ketaban. The reviewer admits they weren't initially interested in fishing games, but found this one surprisingly engaging and easy to get into, praising its simple controls and the satisfying feel of catching fish. Finally, there's an impression of the F-Zero X expansion kit, which is described as a hot production tool. The reviewer is excited about the creation mode, saying even though it looks simple, it's surprisingly deep and allows for detailed customization, making it feel like you can create your own F-Zero tracks and machines. This page is the N64 Forum, a reader's letters section, discussing Nintendo's future strategies. One reader questions Nintendo's focus on the Game Boy Advance and Dolphin (GameCube), expressing concern about the direction and investment in home consoles compared to handhelds. They highlight the significant development costs for Dolphin and the need to stand out from competitors. Another reader expresses a desire for a more positive and enjoyable forum, finding the current discussions too serious and gloomy. Finally, a reader proposes a Famicom revival, arguing that the Famicom name is a powerful brand with strong recognition and software association, even stronger than PlayStation. They suggest Nintendo should consider using the Famicom name for their next-generation console, instead of continuing with N64. This page is a reader feedback section focusing on the Nintendo 64. The page features reader comments and questions about N64 games, specifically mentioning the Legend of Zelda series. One reader expresses their love for Link from the Zelda games, and their dream of becoming a voice actor for Link in an animated series. Another section discusses the concept of qualitative conversion in games, suggesting that games should evolve in quality rather than just quantity. It questions if Pokemon Gold and Silver would be interesting if it was just a qualitative conversion of previous games, and uses Mario, Zelda, and Donkey Kong as examples of games with strong qualitative conversion. Readers share their thoughts on games like Donkey Kong 64 and discuss features like memory expansion packs for the N64. There's also a comment about The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and its memory expansion pack. Readers also discuss preferring games that are simply fun and enjoyable. If it's fun, all is good. And comment on the timing of game releases in relation to when they get their salary, joking about needing to wait until payday to buy games. Overall, the page reflects reader opinions, questions, and discussions about Nintendo 64 games and the direction of game development at the time. This page is all about creating your own homepage using the 64DD, highlighting how simple it is to set up a site with top pages, guestbooks, and even a diary through the GeoCities online service. The article explains that by using a homepage creation wizard and templates, you can easily get your site online in about 30 minutes. They do mention that accessing these online features will incur phone line charges. The "This month I'm buying this" section acknowledges the dwindling number of N64 releases, but still recommends Mario Tennis as a great game to pick up. It also features Pilot Wings 64, Giant Doshin Liberation Front Rally for the 64DD, released on June 20th, describing it as a strategy title where you command giants. This game was not released outside of Japan. There's also a small section with a screenshot from Card Hero, where they mention its surprising strategic depth for a card game. The next page presents the Akihabara Price Survey Group 5/11th Survey, which is essentially a price list for various game consoles and software in Akihabara, Tokyo. It notes that this survey focuses on 10 titles centered around GB prices from the latest released software, aiming to be a price guide for Akihabara. The hardware section lists prices for various consoles, including Nintendo 64 at 9,800 yen, Game Boy Color at 6,480 yen, Game Boy Pocket at 3,280 yen, Super Famicom Jr., AV Specification Famicom, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, WonderSwan, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and GB Color. The software section is a price comparison list showing the original price and the Akihabara price for a range of games, along with the publisher. Many N64 titles are listed, such as The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, which is noted as being sold out on release day but quickly restocked, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, which is described as consistently popular and likely to remain stable in price, and Bass Fishing No. 1 Kitaiban, which is mentioned as having fluctuating prices depending on the store and is expected to decrease further from the previous month. The GB Color section notes that, excluding GB Color, prices are generally the same as last month, and that PS2 is still experiencing shortages. This page presents a Nintendo Power title list featuring Super Famicom, Nintendo Power SFC, and Nintendo Power GB games. It's essentially a software catalog showing a range of titles with details on capacity, SRAM, maker, and price. In the Super Famicom section, popular titles like Super Donkey Kong 1, 2, and 3, Super Metroid, Street Fighter II Turbo, Dragon Quest series games, Rockman 7 and Rockman X, Demon's Blazon, Super Mario Collection, and Final Fantasy titles are listed alongside various other games across different genres like action, RPG, and adventure. The Nintendo Power SFC section includes games such as Torneco's Great Adventure, Mysterious Dungeon, Sword World SFC, Dragon Slayer, Metal Max 2, Super Punch-Out!, and Super Family J-League. It also lists various puzzle and simulation-style games. The Nintendo Power GB section features games like Camel Try, Mario Super Picross, Picross NP Series, puzzle games, Space Invaders, and other titles. At the bottom, there are advertisements for upcoming releases for Super Famicom and Game Boy. June releases for Super Famicom include puzzle and adventure games. June Game Boy releases include puzzle, RPG, and action titles. July releases for both systems are also mentioned with genres and price points. Overall, this page is a software catalog for Nintendo Power, listing available games with technical specifications and pricing, and advertising upcoming game releases. This page is a vibrant promotional piece featuring Mario holding a tennis racket, which is shaped with an M in the strings. The text highlights Nintendo Superstar and introduces the Takahashi brothers with photos of two men, identifying them as elder and younger brothers. The accompanying text mentions that the Takahashi brothers are back in 64Dream magazine after a year, and while last time they discussed golf, this time they are promoting a tennis game. The text expresses excitement for the new game, and specifically mentions Mario Tennis 64, noting the release date of July 21st, and states they are eagerly anticipating its arrival. The page is copyright, dated 2000 Nintendo. The next page presents a dream interview with the Takahashi brothers from Camelot, discussing the charm of Mario Tennis 64 and their development of RPGs for the Game Boy Advance. The interview starts by questioning the short development time of 78 months for their games. They discuss how after Mario Golf 64, they decided to create a tennis game, and then move towards RPG development for the Game Boy Advance. They mention initially wanting to make an RPG for the N64. There's also a funny anecdote about finding a Zelda cartridge signed by Miyamoto in their meeting room, which they jokingly attribute to their detective-like research. They explain their development approach is focused on building upon existing know-how and creating new plans without unnecessary jumps. This page is an interview feature titled Bowling's Enhanced Players Were the Takahashi Brothers, focusing on the developers of Mario Tennis 64. The Takahashi brothers discuss their background in bowling and how they transitioned into creating tennis games. They talk about their game design philosophy, highlighting the importance of making games fun and interesting and capturing the enjoyable aspects of tennis that people loved watching on TV back in the day. They mention being inspired by past Nintendo tennis games, such as the original Famicom Tennis from 1984, and Virtual Boy Mario's Tennis released in 1995. They also talk about the technical challenges of creating a tennis game, even diving into tennis techniques like volley and backhands, and how they aim to represent these in the game. The page also includes a section called Tennis Jargon Explanation, and features an image of Mario in his tennis outfit, as well as screenshots that appear to be from Mario Tennis 64 itself. This page is an interview with the developers of Mario Tennis 64. They discuss the concept behind the game, emphasizing the fun of rallies, and making it enjoyable for everyone, from beginners to advanced players. The developers wanted to capture the feeling of chasing after the ball like tag, and to make a tennis game accessible to those who aren't skilled at traditional tennis. They also mention the spectator aspect being important, and the desire to create a game where players can develop their own playstyles and feel a sense of accomplishment. There's a section about Waluigi's creation, explaining he was designed as a character with long limbs to stand out in the Mario universe and bring a new element to the game. Screenshots of Mario Tennis 64 gameplay are included, showing characters in action on the court. Mario Golf 64 is also mentioned briefly in relation to design principles. The next page is an interview with Takahashi Gumi about the development of Mario Tennis 64 and Mario Golf 64. The interview discusses the development process of Mario Tennis 64, highlighting the intention to create a new type of tennis game and the creation of the character Waluigi. It mentions that the idea for Waluigi came from the development team wanting a rival character for Luigi. The interview also touches upon the development of the Game Boy versions of both games. They discuss the timing of the Game Boy Mario Golf release after the N64 version and the intentions for the Game Boy Mario Tennis version, indicating it was planned to be compatible with the N64 version. It is mentioned that they aim to make the Game Boy versions enjoyable on their own while also offering connectivity features with the N64. The page includes screenshots from Mario Tennis 64 featuring Mario, Peach, Luigi, and Daisy playing tennis. This page is a dream interview with developers of Mario Tennis 64. The interview discusses the game's development and features, focusing on making a tennis game enjoyable for everyone, even those who aren't tennis fans. They wanted to make something different from typical RPGs and create a game that is easy to understand, but with depth. The developers mentioned that the voice actors for Mario characters like Baby Mario, Wario, and Luigi are the same person, and they did 5 roles. They also talk about the development process, mentioning that at its peak, about 30 people were involved. They discuss adding RPG elements to the game, aiming to create a unique experience unlike other RPGs, where the story and world building are essential. They also touch on the idea of making a game that is easy to play and understand, but still has depth. The interview emphasizes making the game enjoyable for families and casual players, ensuring that even players who aren't familiar with tennis can easily pick it up and have fun. They also mention considering the different skill levels of players and adjusting the game accordingly. This page features an interview titled, "Great Activity, Takahashi Brothers," likely with developers. The interview discusses their approach to RPG design and mentions how they view games like Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color as having RPG elements despite being sports games, focusing on the story and player experience. They also discuss their work on Mario Tennis 64 and the use of polygon graphics on the N64. Screenshots include gameplay from Mario Golf on the Game Boy, Mario Tennis 64, and a reference to their past work on Shining Force 2i for Sega Saturn. There's also a photo showing the interview taking place after a meal at a restaurant called Kitaho Kuba, where they enjoyed Genghis Khan barbecue. Mario from Mario Tennis 64 is also prominently displayed on the page. This page is an E3 Express news report from 64Dream magazine, covering the upcoming Electronic Entertainment Expo in Los Angeles. It highlights E3 as the world's biggest game show, taking place at the Los Angeles Convention Center starting May 11, 2000. The report outlines 4 key areas of focus for their E3 coverage: the Nintendo press conference, the latest games from Nintendo and Rare with booth introductions, updates on the Dolphin, which is the codename for the GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance, and finally, information on the popularity of Pokemon in America. The article mentions upcoming reports will delve deeper into these topics, including information on Rare's new title, Dinosaur Planet. There are also photos of the Los Angeles Convention Center and hotels nearby, such as the Regal Biltmore and Figueroa Hotel, used by attendees. This page reports on Nintendo's pre-E3 press conference. The event took place in downtown Los Angeles at a theater described as Fantastique. The press conference featured Peter Mathen giving a presentation, highlighting the upcoming game Perfect Dark and its protagonist, Joanna Dark. A siren sound effect during the presentation caused excitement among the audience. Pokemon was a major topic, with reports of merchandise sales being incredibly high. The announcements included Hey You Pikachu, known internationally as Hey You Pikachu, and Pokemon Puzzle League, which was released as Pokemon Puzzle League internationally. Minoru Arakawa of Nintendo of America appeared via video message. It was mentioned that Howard Lincoln had retired, and Sasaki had become president of the Seattle Mariners baseball team. Shigeru Miyamoto also made an appearance on stage, disguised in a mask, adding an element of surprise to the presentation. The conference also touched upon the Dolphin GameCube console, stating it would be playable and feature Mario-style games. The Game Boy Advance and Nintendo Space World event were also mentioned. This page is about the Nintendo booth at the E3 show. It talks about how Nintendo balanced their booth this year, giving attention to Pokemon games as well as other titles. Rareware games are highlighted as always reliable, mentioning Perfect Dark, GoldenEye 007, Banjo-Tooie, Dinosaur Planet, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and Mickey's Speedway USA being playable. There are photos from press briefings with Miyamoto and NOA's PAD manager. The page also covers the 3rd Interactive Achievement Awards, where N64 Games picked up 2 awards: Star Wars Episode 1 Racer for racing games and Pokemon Snap for children/family games. The article mentions Star Wars Episode 1 Racer was a big hit in America, and Mr. Iwata from HAL Laboratory accepted the award for Pokemon Snap. You can see images of the Nintendo booth with a large Pokemon figure and a display for Majora's Mask. This page covers a Pokemon press conference event held in America for the upcoming Pokemon Gold and Silver games. The event, taking place 2 days before the E3 show, was held at Calvert Elementary School and attended by around 100 children as part of their class. Kids received Pokemon files, press releases, Pikachu memo pads, and press passes. The character designers Ken Sugimori and Tsunekazu Ishihara, along with Masuda, were present. The article also highlights the Pokemon car, which is now available in a gold and silver version, still based on a Volkswagen Beetle, and mentions that various parts of the car have been subtly changed from the original version. Finally, the page discusses the release of Pikachu Genki Daichu in America, known internationally as Hey You Pikachu. It notes the popularity of the Pikachu statue, which replaced a Mario statue, at Nintendo's booth, and that the Pikachu fountain was also a popular photo spot. Shigeru Miyamoto also attended this event, arriving from Los Angeles in the morning. This preview highlights several upcoming Nintendo 64 games. Banjo-Tooie, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie, promises expanded gameplay and character transformations. Conker's Bad Fur Day, a rare title, deviates from its initial cute presentation with an adult-oriented 3D action game. Dinosaur Planet, also by Rare, is a Zelda-like adventure with impressive graphics. Perfect Dark, from the GoldenEye 007 team, is a highly anticipated first-person shooter releasing in America on May 22. Mickey's Speedway USA, developed by the Diddy Kong Racing team, offers a high-quality racing experience similar to Mario Kart. Finally, Pokémon Puzzle League is a Pokémon-themed puzzle game similar to Panel de Pon. This page previews several upcoming games and industry news. Perfect Dark for Game Boy Color promises a portable version of the N64 hit with similar gameplay and new minigames, praised for its impressive graphics. The page also covers industry news, noting Sony's PS2 showcase and Sega's Dreamcast software reveals, including online features. Other game previews include The Little Mermaid for Game Boy, a pinball title featuring Disney characters, and Crystalis for Game Boy Color, a port of the Famicom version. Two editors' notes discuss Nintendo's position. One suggests a period of transformation, contrasting it with the impact of the new Conker announcement, while the other highlights Nintendo's market stability, software lineup, and upcoming Japanese reveals. The next issue will feature E3 coverage. This page presents several news items and product announcements. It highlights the release of new Pokémon Kids figures, including characters like Pichu and Wooper. A unique Game Boy Color peripheral, the new Yell sewing machine, is also announced. In business news, Hudson, the Mario Party developer, plans to list on Nasdaq Japan, focusing on network games. Konami and Takara are forming a capital tie-up, potentially leading to collaborations on games featuring characters like Tokimeki Memorial and Rika-chan. Additionally, the European Commission is investigating Nintendo for antitrust violations. Finally, the page features the homepage of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time's chief designer, along with a section discussing the Game Boy's versatility, and a face illustration hall. This page is focused on Nintendo 64 and Pokémon content. At the top, there is a recommendation for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, highlighting its unique gameplay with time manipulation and mask transformations. It mentions the game's depth and suitability for a wide range of players. Next to it, there's a manga section called Link's Chibi Chibi Great Adventure, with a URL provided. The page also features an article announcing that the Pokémon movie, Pokémon, the first movie Mewtwo Strikes Back, is a huge hit in Europe after its success in America in 1999, highlighting its global popularity and continued momentum. At the bottom, there's news about the Game Boy reaching over 10 million units sold by May. The NOM, Nintendo Online Magazine, is mentioned as featuring a special Game Boy edition, with details on sales figures and interviews with developers. Finally, the page announces new Pokémon merchandise including Monster Gym Badges Series 1 and 2 featuring Kikyo City Gym Badge and Hiwata Town Gym Badge, alongside the release of a CD single titled Pokémon Hara Hara Relay on June 7th, priced at 1,000 yen for the standard CD and 1,200 yen for a special pack. It also mentions singer Rikako Aikawa is performing the theme song. This page is a question and answer section focused on the N64, titled N64 Question Box. The first question asks about the next big game after Majora's Mask, and the answer is Mario Tennis 64, which is stated to be releasing on July 21st, just in time for summer vacation. It's mentioned that Excitebike 64 will be released on June 23rd, described as a realistic racing game like Wave Race 64 and Pilotwings 64, but might not achieve massive hit status. Mario Story RPG 2, known as Paper Mario internationally, is also mentioned as coming after Mario Tennis 64 around August 11th, with Mario Party 2 following in September and Perfect Dark scheduled for October. The second question asks about the sales target for Majora's Mask, and the answer is a confident, approximately 1 million copies. It's mentioned that The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is expected to reach this million-unit milestone, especially as it is bundled with the Memory Expansion Pack. The interviewee notes that while accurate sales figures are not yet available, initial sales are strong, particularly for the bundle version, contrasting it with Donkey Kong 64, which targeted a different age range, suggesting Majora's Mask and Zelda appeal to broader Nintendo fans. There are screenshots of Mario Tennis 64 gameplay showing Mario facing Waluigi, and A Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Gamebox art image. There is also a stylized Pikachu drawing included in the page design. This Q&A section covers 3 topics related to N64 games. First, it discusses The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on the identity of Link's irreplaceable friend, alluded to at the game's opening and connected to The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. The answer remains a mystery within Majora's Mask. Second, it examines the appeal of Mario Tennis 64, highlighting its accessibility for all players and the depth of gameplay. The answerer, personally skilled in tennis and golf, recommends the game and contrasts its target audience with the family-focused Mario Golf 64. Finally, the section explains why the answerer did not attend E3, citing the timing of Japanese software releases and the focus on Space World in August. While acknowledging the enjoyable exhibit, particularly Rare's and Disney's software, the answerer mentions games like Mickey's Speedway USA and hints at software reveals for the GameCube, Dolphin, and Game Boy Advance, GB Advance, at Space World. This Q&A section from a gaming magazine previews upcoming N64 titles. Mario RPG 2, now Mario Story, releases August 11th and features a paper-style aesthetic, similar to Paper Mario. Masahiro Sakurai voices King Dedede in Kirby 64, which is selling well. Perfect Dark, a futuristic sci-fi game starring Joanna Dark, is slated for a Japanese release in October, months after its US debut. Finally, Banjo-Tooie is planned for a holiday season release, potentially titled Banjo-2 in Japan, following the success of Banjo-Kazooie, which sold over 3.55 million copies. This page is a question and answer section addressing fan queries about the N64. Firstly, it confirms that Pokémon Stadium 3 is indeed in development and scheduled for release at the end of the year, with a playable demo planned for the Space World event in August. It also mentions a Pikachu movie preceding the game's release. Next, it announces the Next Generation Hobby Fair in Chiba in late June, where attendees can play upcoming N64 games such as Mario Tennis 64, Furai no Shiren 2, Shiren the Wanderer 2, and Excitebike 64. A Mario Tennis 64 tournament is also planned, and entry to the fair is free, with attendees receiving special Pokémon cards. Another question discusses the potential connectivity between the Game Boy Advance and N64, with the response indicating it's plausible, but details are still under wraps. More information, especially regarding release dates, is expected to be announced around May, potentially at the Space World event in August. Finally, it addresses the popularity of Game Boy memory cartridges, stating they are selling exceptionally well but are currently experiencing shortages. A top 10 ranking of Game Boy games available for cartridge rewriting is provided, featuring titles like Super Mario Bros. DX, Kirby's Dream Land 2, Kirby's Dream Land, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX, Metroid 2, and Bomberman GB3, among others. This page presents a Q&A section. The first question asks about new software for Game Boy rewrite cartridges. The answer is that new software is still under consideration, focusing on the Game Boy rewrite system and mentioning the impact of rewriting Game Boy games, referencing the game Mother. The next question is about Wario's job. The answer humorously states that Wario is a bad guy and his job isn't specifically defined, contrasting him with Mario and Luigi, who were initially envisioned as construction workers. Wario was created within the development department of the Mario Land series, and his job setting remains undefined. Another question is about the special screws used in N64 and Game Boy consoles. The answer clarifies that standard Phillips screws are used for the N64 controller to allow customization. However, special screws are used for the consoles themselves to prevent unauthorized opening, which could cause damage and void the warranty. For repairs, they recommend using official service centers. The final question asks about Atari Shock. The answer explains that Atari, an American console company, lost control of its licensing, leading to a flood of low-quality games and a market crash in 1983 known as Atari Shock. Nintendo learned from this event and now tightly manages licenses and emphasizes high-quality software. This Q&A section covers 2 N64-related topics. The first addresses inquiries about joining Nintendo's game testing group, Mario Club. They are seeking playtesters in Kyoto, requiring at least 4 days a week, with a preference for those residing nearby, and between the ages of 20 to 24. The answer advises the questioner, who lives far from Kyoto, to look for similar opportunities, potentially in Tokyo. The second question discusses Mr. Imamura, art director of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, who participated in the National Likeness Painting Championship. Although he reached the final round, he did not win. The program featured a quiz about him, including face painting trump cards. Mr. Imamura's website, featuring F-Zero X illustrations, is also highlighted. Finally, readers are encouraged to submit their N64 questions via mail or fax to the provided contact information for the N64 question box. This page is all about the new Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children game, which is coming in two versions, Red Book and Black Book, both releasing simultaneously. This is a Game Boy Color RPG from Atlas. The page details three key systems within the game. First, the combat system, where battles occur in scenes, and you can recruit defeated devils as partners or allies through negotiation. Devils have 7 attributes, and you are more likely to recruit devils that share attributes with those you already have. Next, there is the conversation system. Successful conversations with devils can yield items like Maka, in-game currency, or they might restore your party's health. Devils will react in various ways to your conversations, and successfully conversing with a devil will register it in your Devil Compendium. Finally, the fusion system is introduced as a major feature. You can fuse devils to create stronger ones. The hero can fuse with devils to enhance their power. This fusion system is essential as partner devils level up through experience, but the hero does not, so fusion is needed to strengthen them. The page mentions that fusing devils might sometimes result in unexpected, powerful demons. The Red Book version takes place in Ayashi Mansion, and the Black Book version in Kuroi Research Lab for fusion. This page is a preview of Star Ocean, Blue Sphere, a new game in the popular Star Ocean series, and a sequel to Star Ocean. Second story, this time for the Game Boy Color. It's described as having surprisingly beautiful graphics for a GB game. The article highlights the core gameplay systems. You form a party of 3 characters from a larger roster and explore the world. The story revolves around finding parts for a spaceship. Beginning when the ship breaks down, there will be various events encountered during this search. Combat is described as strategic, using a system where players control one character directly in battle while the others are AI controlled. You can switch the controlled character during combat to gain an advantage. Different characters have different tactical approaches available to them. The field walking section details the exploration aspect, explaining that unlike previous games where encounters were random while walking, this game has visible monsters on the field map. Touching a monster initiates a battle. The character training section introduces the skill system, where you earn skill points to allocate to various skills, allowing you to develop characters to your liking and create unique builds. Leveling up skills can also lead to learning new skills. Screenshots show gameplay, battle interfaces, and character selection screens, demonstrating the party system, skill allocation, and battle commands. The article emphasizes the depth and strategic elements of the game. The next page showcases 2 Game Boy Color titles. First up is Rockman X. Rockman X Cyber Mission, an action game slated for August release by Capcom, priced at 3,980 yen. This title is described as a mix of Super Famicom's Rockman X and Rockman X2, tailored for the Game Boy. It incorporates original elements, including an auto-charge system for easier gameplay on the handheld. The story revolves around restoring corrupted data. X finds himself in a familiar but forgotten place, where VAVA is once again defeated, and Dr. Kane's base is hacked, plunging the world into chaos. A boy named Miri aids X, and to restore peace, they must repair the corrupted data, marking the beginning of X's new battles. Screenshots highlight action platforming gameplay in various stage environments. The second game is Bokan no Dungeon Room 2, an RPG from Hudson, scheduled for a June 2nd release, also priced at 3,980 yen. This hole-digging RPG tasks players with exploring dungeons buried underground, collecting 7 dragon stamps, and challenging dragon gods to become humanity's successor. Gameplay focuses on dungeon exploration and gathering stones to enhance Bokan's abilities, rather than pure combat and leveling. A communication battle mode is featured, utilizing a link cable for competitive play. This mode includes various battle types, like Dig Battle, where players race to find items, and Battle Stadium, where mini-mecha Bokans clash with rapid A button presses. Winning players are rewarded with items. Screenshots depict dungeon exploration, item collection, and monster encounters. This page introduces 3 games. Firstly, it features Picross NP Volume 8 for Nintendo Power on Super Famicom. This is the final volume in the series, offering 240 puzzles and ample volume. The game includes modes for beginners to experts, such as beginner, regular, professional, and extra, with even more challenging puzzles available after clearing these. There's also a special mode, where players can win prizes by solving puzzles and finding keywords. The puzzles feature characters and images that appear as you solve them, including Donkey Kong. Secondly, it previews GB Zoid, tentative title, for Game Boy Color, an RPG where players collect and strengthen Zoids, familiar from the anime series, and battle. Players can collect over 150 types of Zoids, customize them with weapons, and engage in battles, even against friends. The game boasts large, dynamic battle scenes. Finally, it introduces Pooh-san and Friends Treasure Hunt Story, also for Game Boy Color, an adventure game where players explore Pooh's 100-acre wood. Players can clear events to earn interior cards and enjoy picture books and minigames. The game features communication battles with friends and minigames like Dai Isuguroku. This page showcases the Game Boy Color game Ojarumaru, Tsuki ga Ike no Takaramono. It highlights the minigames featured in the game, explaining that they are triggered when you land on a square marked Game on the Sugoroku board. The page introduces 4 minigames: Kemari Ojaru, where you kick a ball, Miyabi no Mai, which is an elegant dance, Motorju, a matching puzzle, and Denbo Classroom, a question-and-answer style game. The page also previews Medarut 3, another Game Boy Color title, focusing on the new Medallia system. It explains that in Medarut 3, battlefields are now octagonal, allowing robots to move diagonally, which has significantly changed battle strategy. The article also touches on team battles, where you control a team of 3 robots, a new element in Medarut 3. This page showcases a few Game Boy Color titles. First up is Kanji Boy 2, a learning game to help you master kanji characters, utilizing questions from the Kanji Kente test. Then there's Flower and Dragon Girl Academy Hanafuda Mahjong, a game where you can play Hanafuda and Mahjong against girls in a school setting. It highlights both single-player and multiplayer options. Next is GB Goldfish Story, a goldfish breeding simulator where you raise and care for exotic goldfish, even interacting with them and other people. Finally, at the bottom right, there's information about the Nintendo Power Game Boy Rewrite service and a list of downloadable Game Boy Color titles and their prices. Games like Treasure Legend Light and Darkness Country, Go! High Bike, Mini 4 Boy 2, Kanji Yuma Monster, Pachi 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 Saburo New Pulsar Edition, and Takahashi Meijen's Bug Island 3 are listed with pricing details and genres. The Illustrations Special Feature Hall, dedicated to fan-submitted art inspired by Nintendo 64 games, is expanding to 6 pages due to popular demand. The featured artwork primarily showcases Zelda games. Several pieces depict Link in various scenarios, including one with Majora's Mask emphasizing the game's eerie atmosphere, another of Link riding Epona, and a heroic Link illustration highlighting the adventure aspect. There's also art of Link wielding a sword, with the artist wanting to depict boss characters. Other featured artwork includes Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2, Super Smash Bros. Characters in space, and a piece from the Japan-exclusive Card Hero, which the artist compares to Fire Emblem. A small, unrelated illustration of a boy eating udon is also present. This page is titled Mario 64 Detective Team and features fan art submissions from readers. Many of the artworks are based on Legend of Zelda games. One submission mentions Biohazard 2, which is Resident Evil 2, noting it's the first Bio-series original work. Another mentions Tactics Ogre, suggesting it's written in hiragana and katakana. A fan mentions playing Majora's Mask, and that playing Ocarina of Time beforehand enhances the experience. Another fan illustration is described as from Dracula Gaiden, which may refer to Castlevania Legends. The lower section is titled Illust Fan Letter, with letters and small drawings from readers. One reader mentions being impressed with Crystal Dimensions and sending fan art, expressing concerns about the art style. Another letter mentions Kirby and Falcon, asking for a 2-shot comic and discussing favorite games, and mentions liking Zelda. Another letter shows a cute Zelda artwork and talks about being healed by Zelda and liking the 4-panel comics. This page is showcasing fan art submissions themed around Kirby. Many different styles and interpretations of Kirby are presented, with artists submitting artwork from various prefectures in Japan such as Gifu, Kanagawa, Fukuoka, Aomori, Saitama, Kyoto, Chiba, Hiroshima, Miyagi, and Yamanashi. One artwork mentions Kirby 64, suggesting fan art inspired by the game Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. The artwork uses various characters from the Kirby universe, including Kirby, Ribbon, King Day, Meta Knight, and Adolin. The theme for submissions in the next issue is announced as Action. The next page is titled Mario Parent-Child Core. It features fan-submitted 4-panel manga and children's illustrations related to Nintendo 64 games. The top right section has a 4-panel manga featuring Clefairy from Pokémon, discussing moonstones and evolution, referencing Pokémon's evolutionary mechanics. Below it is another Pokémon-themed manga, focusing on Eevee and its evolution. The 4-frame manga section contains a humorous comic strip featuring Peach and Mario characters. Although the specific game isn't explicitly named, it's clearly based on the Mario universe. The My Turn section showcases a Zelda-themed comic with Link interacting with fairies, likely inspired by the Legend of Zelda series. Moon Viewing Idiot is another 4-panel manga featuring Link from Zelda, this time humorously interacting with the moon. Finally, Copley Lee presents a Kirby comic strip about Kirby's copy ability, based on the Kirby games. The Illustration, Under 10 Years Old section is a collection of children's drawings depicting various Nintendo characters, such as Kirby, Yoshi, Mario, Link, and Pokémon. The illustrations are accompanied by brief comments about the drawings, mentioning games like Kirby's Dream Land, Yoshi's Story, Mario 64, and Pokémon. This page showcases fan art primarily focused on Nintendo games. The art features a diverse range of characters and franchises, including Pokémon, Ash, Pikachu, Zelda, Link, Zelda inspired by various games, Earthbound, Mother, Kirby, Metroid, Samus Aran, Yoshi's Story, and Sakura Wars GB. The illustrations span a variety of styles and themes, from romantic depictions to humorous scenarios. Notable pieces include spring-themed Pokémon art, a sentimental Earthbound piece, and several Zelda-themed drawings referencing different games. There are also collaborative efforts and character-specific art, like the Starwolf humanoid, and a drawing of Maria from Sakura Wars GB. This page is dedicated to fan-submitted illustrations related to Nintendo 64 games, titled Mario Relatives Team. It showcases various drawings with humorous and creative interpretations of game characters and scenarios. There's artwork for Mario Tennis 64, depicting Mario and Luigi playing tennis. Another section features an illustration for Fire Emblem, described as F.E. Thracia 776. There's also art for a game that might be Hiwata Gyaruzu Leader, featuring a female character with insect motifs. Tactics Ogre is also represented with an illustration. Moving on, we see a drawing inspired by The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, asking if it's Zelda Julmuju or Mujukame. Another artwork is for Star Fox 64, with a cool Fox McCloud and sunglasses. Resident Evil or Biohazard is featured, showing a character seemingly from Resident Evil 2 with Claire Redfield written below. There's also an image inspired by Pokémon Stadium GB with Pokémon characters. The page lists names under this month's rank promotion winners, categorized by ranks such as Sergeant Major, Sergeant First Class, Sergeant Second Class, and others. These are likely participants in the magazine's illustration contest or related activities. Lastly, there is an illustration contest section, inviting submissions of character illustrations, fan letters, and 4-panel manga in color or black and white, with specific size requirements and deadlines mentioned for the magazine's editorial department. This page showcases The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, with several gameplay tips. One section explains how to use the pictograph box to photograph your own face in the game. Another tip details an easy method to catch bombers in Clocktown by using soap bubbles. There's also information about Takuri enemies in Termina Field who can steal items, and sometimes even your sword, noting they can be found in Clocktown's market during the second day, and defeating them can earn you 50 rupees and items from the Manny shop. Finally, another segment describes a trick from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, where butterflies can transform into fairies if you slowly approach them with a Deku stick, highlighting their use for stamina recovery and bottling. This 64Dream magazine page offers various dream techniques for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. These techniques cover both midday dream and nightmare scenarios. Skirt Peak Training details how to view under female characters' skirts. Strongest Dojo. Dojo Master is weak? reveals the Clocktown Dojo's location and suggests a weakness. Gossip Stone Collection explains how to manipulate gossip stones using the Song of Healing and Bombs. Truth Mask's Advantageous Dream Technique teaches how to conserve magic when using the Mask of Truth. Deku Nut Soap Bubbles focuses on a unique interaction with soap bubbles as Deku Link. Lastly, Treasure Chest House Camera Change describes changing the camera angle in the Treasure Chest Shop minigame for a potentially easier experience. This page features dream techniques for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. One tip reveals that if you wear the Goron mask in the Swamp Shooting Gallery, you can become one of the targets. Another trick explains that breaking a sign and then playing the healing song will restore it to its original state. It's also noted that the cow ornament in the mayor's office will move if you use a spin attack on it. If you play as Deku Link and simultaneously press the R, Z, and CU buttons, you can hide inside a pot to observe the surroundings. And another secret points out that striking graffiti near the entrance of Termina Field with your sword will yield 3 rupees. You can also dive into the ground in Romani Ranch as Deku Link, even without using a Deku flower. Finally, it's mentioned you can sell fish for 20 rupees at the Curiosity Shop in West Clocktown after 10 p.m. The Dojo Master in Clocktown is also revealed to have a fondness for the Great Fairy Mask, leading to special dialogue. This retro magazine page details dream techniques for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Rupee farming tricks include repeatedly hitting the gong in Clocktown West Dojo and shooting targets at Honey and Darling's shop. The Poesio's mask trick allows extra time for scent-smelling grass. Players can clip into wooden boxes in Clocktown East for a humorous visual. The Stockpot Inn reveals a funny detail: men's pants on a bed. The Bremen mask enables the bleam-faced march effect, with dogs following Link even during the moon's descent. The article concludes with a call for reader submissions of N64 game techniques, offering prizes for ingenuity, along with postcard submission details. The 64 new software catalog previews upcoming N64 games. RPGs include Mother 3, no new info, potential late 2000 release; Mario Story, August 11th, similar to Yoshi's Story; and Shiren the Wanderer 2, summer with castle building. Conker's Quest, action-adventure, no updates; and Doraemon 3, Action 2000, are also listed. Other genres include Resident Evil 0, adventure, undecided release; Super Black Base 64, simulation, summer; Panel de Pon 64, puzzle, undecided; and Mario Tennis, sports, July 21st, featuring Peach, Daisy, and Teresa. This catalog previews several upcoming N64 games. Ganbare Nippon. Olympic 2000 from Konami focuses on swimming. Perfect Dark, a 3D shooter from Rare, stars agent Joanna Dark. Excitebike 64 from Nintendo is eagerly anticipated. A horse racing game, Slits Uma Raditsu Uma, also from Nintendo, has no release date. Nushitsuri 64 Shiokaze ni Notte is a fishing game. Dubutsu Banchao, later Cubivore, is listed as unreleased. Finally, the catalog includes reviews of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Staff members praise its unique gameplay, difficulty, and melancholic atmosphere, with some considering it a contender for Best Game of the Century. They highlight the time loop mechanic, the evolving game system, and the memorable characters and world. This page introduces a section called GBA Gathering Bug Academy, presented as a daily communication building feature. It humorously depicts the editorial team's office and members as part of this academy. The section seems to be about reporting on things new staff members from Osaka who are now in Tokyo have experienced, starting with a sudden visit to Nintendo headquarters for, which means interview or coverage. The page introduces 4 editorial staff members with cartoon portraits. Chinkuru Watanabe, described as a fearful and explosive deputy editor-in-chief; Wario Magoshita, a fast worker; Fox Iwazaki, the Academy's special attack commander; and Dr. Ender of Hakugaku, a mysterious figure. The page is lighthearted and introduces the editorial team in an amusing way, as part of this Gathering Bug Academy concept. The next page showcases an unusual experience report at Nintendo in Tokyo. It begins with a visit to Nintendo to play Mario Tennis 64. The article describes a sense of anticipation turned to bewilderment when, instead of a standard game demo, The journey involves an elevator leading to a rooftop and a mysterious capsule. It's humorously revealed to be a rooftop-launched Idong capsule, a unique method of transportation, which the editorial department finds somewhat convincing and understandable in a world like Tokyo. The page also features illustrations. One depicts a futuristic capsule with the number 2, hinting at the Idong capsule concept. Another illustration in a separate box shows a doghouse labeled Pochi and a chain chomp, seemingly unrelated to the main article, but perhaps a humorous element. A text box titled GBA Information Station Notice at the bottom right encourages readers to send in questions about the Game Boy Advance and 64Dream magazine, providing an address for correspondence. The final illustration at the bottom shows cartoonish characters observing the scene, with a disclaimer stating, "This is fiction," adding a touch of playful exaggeration to the report. Overall, the page presents a quirky and imaginative take on a visit to Nintendo for a Mario Tennis 64 preview, emphasizing the unexpected and exaggerated nature of the experience. This page is a reader prize giveaway, featuring a variety of Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color items. Up for grabs are a clear red Nintendo 64 console, Nintendo 64 controllers, and 2 Game Boy Color consoles, one of which is the Midnight Blue Toys R Us exclusive version. Several lucky winners can also receive random N64 game cartridges or a copy of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask for the N64, which includes the memory expansion pack. For Game Boy fans, there's a GB memory cartridge with preloaded games. Signed merchandise from the magazine's editorial team is also being offered, including a Liberation Front bandana, a Giant Graham 2000 fan book, and Giant Graham postcards. For Mischief Makers fans, there's a chance to win the N64 game Mischief Makers 64 Game Gallery, alongside special training pants. Rounding out the prizes are Pokemon-themed items, a GB mini carry bag for storing games and cables, and a Pokemon collection file designed to neatly store all 6 Pokemon Game Boy games. The next page presents a reader survey for 64Dream magazine, asking for feedback on the current issue's cover and articles. Readers are asked to choose their favorite and least favorite articles from a list of contents. The page includes 2 tables. Table 1 lists articles within the magazine, covering games such as Zelda, Mario, Kirby, Resident Evil 0, Donkey Kong, Shiren the Wanderer, and Pokemon, alongside general topics like game fan clubs. Table 2 previews upcoming N64 games, featuring a diverse range of titles. Some notable games include Excitebike 64, Gambare Nippon, Olympics 2000, Conker's Quest, Super Black Bass 64, the 64DD version of Zelda, Animal Forest, which later became Animal Crossing, Doraemon 3, Nobita's Town SOS, Perfect Dark, Resident Evil 0, Tetris Attack, Fire Emblem 64, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Paper Mario, and Mario Tennis 64. There are also some Japan-exclusive titles mentioned, like Ide Yusuke's Mahjong School, and 64DD titles, like DTDD and DD Seaman. The page also announces the winners of the 5th issue prize draw. Finally, there is a column called Mochi's I Listen to You, where a reader complains about feeling sick while playing 3D games, particularly Zelda. Mochi jokingly suggests remedies like motion sickness pills or drinking before playing, while also mentioning that 3D games can be visually intense and cause discomfort for some players. This page announces the 64Dream August issue will be released on Wednesday, June 21st for 490 yen. The next menu section mentions that this issue includes a magazine code and discusses the availability of 64Dream in bookstores. It highlights the upcoming issue will feature a report on the E3 show and previews for Mario Tennis and Mario Story, which is known internationally as Paper Mario. The editor's voice section touches on various topics, including a Brother Teleka present, the popularity of Zelda telecards, and disappointment with a game sequel. It also mentions professional baseball, a hotel trip, the editor's work-life balance, spending Golden Week playing Majora's Mask, and a story about an award-winning writer. A small comic strip titled Rokuyan Dream Diary, featuring Mario and Luigi is present. The page also includes a staff list of magazine contributors in various roles. Finally, there is information about the 7th of July issue of 64Dream, with contact details such as address, phone, and fax numbers for the publishing company. The bottom section provides contact information for readers regarding letters to the editorial department, back issues, and finding the magazine in bookstores. This page is an advertisement for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask on Nintendo 64. The advert showcases the iconic Majora's Mask in the center, surrounded by various characters and scenes from the game. Link on horseback is featured prominently. The screenshots offer glimpses of gameplay and characters that players will encounter. The advert emphasizes that this Zelda adventure is unlike any other. It also mentions that the Memory Expansion Pack is required to play the game and provides pricing details for both the standalone game and a bundle, including the Memory Expansion Pack. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Ojurumaru Moonlight Pond's Treasure. It highlights that the game is based on the anime Ojurumaru, which is currently airing on TV and is slated for release in July 2000 at a standard price of 3,980 yen. The game features communication battles using a link cable and is compatible with all Game Boy systems. The advert emphasizes that there are various mini-games where you sing, dance, and memorize things, offering diverse gameplay. Screenshots show different scenes in the game, including conversations with characters and item collection in the town of Moonlight. It mentions that there are over 100 events and more than 60 characters to meet. The game encourages players to explore Moonlight Town and collect items, trading them at the Tanaka Fish Shop. It also mentions mini-games such as Kick the Ball Ojaru, Miyabi Dance, and Squid Child's Help.